Good evening and welcome to SoCal Prep Report. I'm your host, Randy Rosenbloom. I'll be joined momentarily by Tarek Fattal of the Daily News. He'll co-host the program with me. Our guest tonight, we're talking baseball. We got the Boris Classic this week starting, and that's really one of the great tournaments in Southern California when you talk prep baseball. Well, Ralph Grajeda, who's done terrific work over 5 years at Yucaipa, a frequent guest on this show, will join us. And we have a new gentleman from JSerra, Brett Kaye, former catcher in the Mets organization, has done a great job with the Lions over the last 16 years at JSerra. But now let's first bring in Tarek Fattal. Tarek, how are you? It's always great to see you, and welcome again to SoCal Prep Report.
Randy, another week of prep sports and another one ahead of us, of course. A great Thursday night, and of course, great to co-host with you.
I appreciate that. You know, we're talking baseball tonight, and the first thing that comes to mind, the LA City section has struck a deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers to host again at Dodger Stadium their championship games, 1 and 2, the two top divisions. It's actually the way they break it up. It'll be an open division, then a D1 game on May 28th. So that's great news. So they had this, and then the pandemic stopped it. For over 50 years, the championship games were at Dodger Stadium. So that's great news, isn't it, for Tarek, to have those games, the city title games, at Dodger Stadium?
It's always the best way to end the prep year, getting to Dodger Stadium, being up in the press box. It's kind of experience for everybody. The coaches get a kick out of it. You know, the plush field, the great lining. I mean, everything about it is amazing. The weather's always great. Even the media gets a little treat getting to watch the games in the press box, stuff like that. So those players get a real treat, and what a great honor it is to play at Chavez Ravine. Anyone who gets that honor is going to have a good day. You know, you want to win the game, but even if you lose, you could say, hey, I played at Dodger Stadium. Maybe I got a hit. I got on base. I made a play. So it's all about the experience. And at the high school level, hey, man, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, it's not unusual for the players to pick up the dirt, put it in their pocket, and save it, saying, hey, I played at Dodger Stadium. It's just a great, great thing. You know, one city note during the week, last Saturday, a big win for Granada Hills in a crossover game, since we're talking a little bit about the city section. We're going to get to the southern section with our coaches. Granada Hills 12-3 over San Pedro. That's a big win for the Highlanders. They're the top-ranked team. They're the favorite in the LA City section.
Let's not forget that Granada Hills last season in the spring abbreviated season, they were the number 1 seed in the city and then lost in the playoffs. If there's one thing that's great about the city section, it may not be the best talent. It may not be, you know, guys maybe on the draft board, stuff like that, but the parity might be unmatched. I mean, you just really never know. The low seed can beat the high seed and then can do it again all the way through the final. We saw El Camino Real as a low seed last season get to the city final, and eventually they lost to San Pedro. But when you're talking about Granada Hills, they were a year early last year. So now all their guys are back. This is their year, and so I expect them to make a deep run.
Yeah, one of the great players in the LA City section is playing at Dodger Stadium right now. Mike Mustakas, as the Reds, the last time I checked, were trailing the Dodgers in the opener 3-0. But Mustakas, young man out of Chatsworth, was 1 for 2 against Walker Buehler, an infield single and a strikeout. But let's turn our attention to the southern section, because those are the majority of the teams that are going to be playing in this Boris Classic. They have all the top teams from around Southern California and even from outside the area. So let's bring in now, for the first time, Ralph Grajeda of Yucaipa. His team is terrific. I'm looking at your record, 16-3. Coach, you're nationally ranked. Things are going well for you, and you just played in a national tournament. Give us a little overview of your Yucaipa team and why you're so strong this year, and welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. It's always good to be on the show. We're kind of a blend of youth and some experience. So we had young kids last year on a club that went to the quarterfinals for Division I baseball, and they took that experience and they're ready to go. So we have really good pitching right now. We're very offensive, and when we went to North Carolina, I thought we showed very well. We lost to Stoneman Douglas, that I want to say is 3 in the country according to Baseball America, and we were leading that game up until about the 4th inning, and then we tied it in the 5th, and they tied it in the 5th, excuse me, and then the wheels fell out. But we are pitching deep, and we've got about 9 D1 commits, and so things look good. Things look good.
Coach, I
Yeah,
wanted to
only
ask you
Orange
about.
Lutheran's ranked ahead of them, Tarek.
Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Yeah, sorry, Randy. Yeah, I looking at the record, 16-3, Coach, just one loss in league. You've got some quality wins, like you said. You've been in, national tournament. You're really sharpening your tools here, Coach. How excited are you to get these guys ready for the postseason? I know you're not quite there yet, but is there an
Mhm.
element of excitement getting into this postseason? Or do you feel like you're playing your best ball at maybe the most important time of the year?
We gained valuable experience in North Carolina. I mean, we played exceptionally well. I was very proud of the kids. High energy, kids are locked in. Whenever there's a tight ball game, our kids aren't rattled. They stay in the saddle pretty good. The Boris Classic, I think, obviously we were talking earlier in the show. The timing of the Boris Classic, playing those quality types of programs, is going to definitely prepare us for the postseason. So the timing of it's great, in my opinion. So you wouldn't want a better scenario than playing the best teams in Southern California before you hit the postseason. So we're fortunate to be a part of it. It's a great tournament.
What makes it great, and why is it so special for Yucaipa to be in the tournament?
Well, you're talking about two great programs, JSerra and Modern Day, that are hosting it. You're talking about handpicked programs um, that have some of the best talent in the country, if you will. If I'm Southern California biased, and that's just gonna the exposure of it. Mr. Boris being a part of that process, I think it's great to put your kids in that type of venue. And it's just a special event. I mean, there isn't too many that can mimic what it does. It's just a great event. It's our second time through it, and we're fortunate to be a part of the process.
Ralph, let's talk about your team a little bit. Maybe,
Yeah.
give us maybe your top hitters, some of your pitchers. Let's highlight those guys. They're the ones that have got 16 wins this season.
So we on the mound, we've got two juniors right now, and they're kind of 1A, 1B, kind of whoever you want to talk to at the moment. But we have a junior in Owen Egan that is used to throw extremely well. He will rush it up there, fully stretched out, ready to go, 93. Does a great job. He's a stopper for us, and we've had another junior pitcher develop that eventually put himself in the rotation, and that's Carter Elliott. He's an ASU commit. He's the same type of kid as a bulldog on the mound. But we also complemented with other pitchers that can definitely come in and start. We have Carter Herrera that is going to Cal State Fullerton. That is easily one of our starters whenever we need that. We have other pitchers that are D2 pitchers that are doing a really good job. Peyton Von Canel, he's a big right-hander. He's 6'6". He's going to Concordia there in Irvine. We have Wyatt Doty, who's a senior. He's going to Cal State San Bernardino. I mean, we're pretty good on the mound. We have other pitchers that do a really good job as well. And we have one of the best hitters, in my humble opinion, in the country in our shortstop, in Jacob Reimer. He's kind of like Dale Murphy, if you remember that name. He's got real power. Doesn't swing and miss a lot. He's got a lot of scouts, a lot of brass has been out to see him for a lot of major league clubs, and I've coached for a very long time. And he is one of the best hitters I've ever coached, and that's Jacob Reimer. So we've got some talented hitters. We have a catcher that's a junior, and depending on who you talk to, he might be the best catcher in the state of California in his class, and that's Luke Shearer. He's got a pro-type body. He's 6'2", 205. He's built. He's going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And he also rushes it up to 90 when we put him on the mound. So it's I like what we've got. We've got a third baseman that's a sophomore. I've got two sophomores that I'm very proud of. Daniel Arambula is an LSU commit, and he's doing a great job. He gets in the heart of our order headed to LSU. And then we have Wes Hickey, who came to us as an infielder. We converted him to the outfielder. He's got plus speed, can really hit. He's a sophomore, and he's committed to the University of Washington. So we've got depth in all our classes, and I just really like what we got going on right now.
Coach, I know you love to place players in college, and it sounds like you're doing a
I do.
terrific job helping moving these kids along.
I do. That's the ex-college coach in me. I just take those relationships with coaches that I know, and the thing about it, I always tell my kids I'm going to give them the good, bad, and the ugly. So make sure you're getting after it in our program, so that way when you get there, you know what's going on, and we've got some trust with the college recruiters and college head coaches, and we've turned 26 kids to colleges, Division 1 through 3, in NAI in the last 4.5 years. So I feel like when our kids leave our program, they're ready for college, and for me, I take a lot of pride in that.
Coach, I wanted to ask you a little bit about like maybe your style. Baseball has this way, depending on the coach, things are a little bit loose in the dugout, maybe a little bit more strict. What's the balance for you, Coach, in regards to kind of letting the kids be kids, right? Because that's what they are. But you guys are serious. You got talent. There's something to win there. This could be a real special season. So can you maybe talk to me about your philosophy in regards to a balance of having fun, but also making sure you're accomplishing your goals?
So I had an old coach talk to me and said there's freedom within structure, and our kids know that there's a certain way we're going to go about business, but we can have some fun and go and enjoy the game as long as we're taking care of things we need to on the field. I've got some absolutes coaching, and for the most part, I will tell you in year 5, the kids know our system, they know our style of play, and the better teams kind of govern themselves, and we've got that right now. We've got a lot of accountability. We've got senior leadership. We've got buy. So it's I'm not having to do too much this year. I'm really not. It's going very well.
Coach, I know you're very familiar with the JSerra program. You coached there in previous years. Now we're going to bring on Brett Kaye here momentarily. So what can you tell us about his program, and what can you tell us about Brett Kaye, the coach?
Brett's
From
one of
one
the best
coach
baseball.
to another.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, just one of the best baseball coaches in Southern California, and if not America. He's done a great job at JSerra. It is in the national spotlight every year. He's got great talent, great facilities, and does a tremendous job as a field general. So, I mean, Brett does a great job. Does a really, really good job.
Well, I want to thank you for your passion on the job at Yucaipa. You've done a great job. You won a championship there in 2018. You obviously will have a great opportunity in your quest to get another one. It won't be easy. There's great teams in SoCal, but it sounds like you have a terrific squad with a terrific opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, that's head coach Ralph Grajeda. Tarek, that's a Yucaipa program that's really, really good.
Yeah, that's Yucaipa. I think I looked, they're 5th in the CIF Southern Section polls right now, so destined to probably get a nice high seed in the playoffs. They gotta do a couple more. Maybe they get a little higher. Maybe they do well in the Boris Classic and they get up to like the 2 or the 3 or something like that. And either way, they're destined for the playoffs and they're going to make some noise.
Yeah, they're in a lot of different polls. I've seen them anywhere from 2 to 5 nationally ranked. And there's no question, Yucaipa, they're in the hunt this year. And again, thank the coach, Ralph Grajeda. It's time now to bring on Brett Kaye of JSerra. His team is going to be hosting part of the Boris Classic along with Modern Day. And again, JSerra is in that tough Trinity League. And we know, Tarek, that the Trinity League is very, very difficult. Coach, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. First timer here, so you're going to have to hold my hand a little bit.
No, you'll be great. There's no question about that. All right, you just heard the previous coach, Ralph Grajeda. I mean, he was praising you up and down, calling you a great coach. How do you like those kind of accolades from your coaching fraternity?
That was very kind of him, but, you're only as good as your assistants, and you're only as good as the players. It was very kind of him, and it was a nice honor for him. It was great to hear that. So,
the Boris Classic hasn't been played in a couple of years because of the COVID situation, and thank goodness we got it back. And you've had great success there. What has been the secret for your success at the Classic at JSerra? Why have you done so well at the Boris Classic?
It's a great question. We've always kind of played well there. It's kind of our baby, along with Modern Day, and we take pride in it being on our campus, and it's something that we feel like the best 16 teams are out there in Southern California and have an opportunity to showcase themselves, and we want to continue to be one of those programs that continues to up the ante, if you will, and showcase our student athletes and showcase our facilities that we feel like are some of the best in the state or the nation. And obviously you've got, Scott Boris behind it and the Boris Family Foundation. It's really one of the best tournaments in the nation. It's probably in the top 2 or 3. And, it's just something we're proud to be a part of and an honor to compete against the best.
When it comes to the Trinity League, I'm looking at the standings right now. There's just no easy game on that schedule, is there, Coach? Can you kind of talk about the gauntlet of the Trinity League and how maybe you welcome it. You're JSerra. People know you're a good program. People know you're a Division I contender, and your league has to prepare you for the gauntlet that is the postseason. But the league play is a gauntlet itself. Can you kind of just talk about how difficult that league is?
Yeah, I mean it's what you want as a head coach. I mean it's the best of the best. I mean you're learning from the other coaches. You're learning from the other pitching coaches. You're breaking down schools. You're breaking down the student athletes. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, and it's been a special league for 16 years as I've been a part of it, and I think it's harder to win that league than it is to win the CIF Southern Section Champion. And people will give me on. I haven't won that yet. But the playing in that 3-game series and doing it against Olu and Santa Margarita, Mater Dei, Servite, Bosco, I mean, it's a battle of attrition, and the details are so important. The little moments are so important in that league, because if you open that door for anybody, the other team's going to take advantage of it. So you have to be locked in and ready, and you have to be prepared for, the old cliche of every pitch. And it's what you want from a high school perspective. It's the closest thing to college baseball that you're going to get in a high school baseball setting.
Yeah, you play this tough Trinity League schedule, but you're outside the league schedule's no cakewalk either. And you're coming off a great win. You dominated Harvard Westlake 8-3. What did that game, because Harvard Westlake, the Wolverines are terrific as well. What did that game tell you about your squad?
Well, Halp and I are probably, we're as close as high school coaches can be. And, I think we measure ourselves against each other to a certain extent. And, Harvard Westlake beat us in the finals last year. They beat us earlier this year 2-1. And, my coaches were giving me a hard time that we finally got that monkey off our back. And, this team earlier was different. It was a different team, and I was trying to do too much, and I was overcoaching, and, they just kind of learned to figure out how to play with each other and how to trust each other and how to believe in each other. And, we probably played our best game of the year against Harvard Westlake. And, Owen Fuller had a huge at-bat, and Trent Caraway had a huge at-bat, and, we staffed it up that day to, just try to kind of match wits with, Coach Halp and Coach Guntz and the rest of their staff and their student athletes. And, we came out with, 5 runs with 2 outs. And we think we can play with anybody. We think we can beat anybody in the country. We think we can beat anybody in Southern Section. And you have to walk on the field and play that way and act that way. And obviously we respect the heck out of anybody we play. But, you kind of have to do that. Because you don't want any chinks in the armor. And if we can be playing our best baseball at the last game of the year, then I'll be happy.
Coach, before the show, we were kind of talking about the differences of when you used to open up the paper and get the scores, and kind of just how many years you've been around the game and high school sports and so on and so forth. So not going into the media, but I wanted to ask you, coaching for so long, can you kind of talk about the major differences of coaching a kid 15 years ago compared to today? I'm not trying to trap you. You don't have to talk about parents or anything, because I know that can be a difference, but maybe just some general challenges or even some great things about the difference between a kid maybe almost 20 years ago to, here in 2022.
Well, it's different now. I hired my high school coach, Bob Ikes, who I've been trying to kind of lure away from Mater Dei, for 16 years. And I finally got him on our staff. And I always, every day is like revenge for me against him. But every day reminds me of how hard he coached me and what that was like to be coached in the 90s, or, to play at Cal State Fullerton in the early 2000s, and what those things transpired and what it was like. And even 16 years ago when I got the job, there was things that I did that there's no way I could do now. But I also think the player has changed to a certain extent. The scholarship and the college at the end of the tunnel is almost more important than a win could be at times. The summer ball attraction and things of that nature are always, hey, let's get away from the high school setting. Let's have a little bit more freedom, and let's go get a scholarship. Where us as high school coaches, we really want to focus on developing our kids, getting our kids better, preparing them for college as well, and being a conduit for that. So it's different. It's different from a lot of different perspectives. It's different from a parent perspective, from a player perspective. Coaches are changing now. The seasons are changing. How many games do you want to play? How much practice do you want to put in? How much travel ball do they play? All those things start to matter, and especially from a pitching course load as well. It's just all, encompassing, and you have to understand at the end of all things, it will always be about the student athlete and their path and how you can just help them to hopefully gain that traction so that they are a D1 or D2 or D3 or even JUCO, because JUCO in Southern California is absolutely phenomenal. But you want to help them prepare for those moments, and so that when they step foot on those campuses, they are prepared and they are ready. And then, by the time they get married, hopefully you get an invite to their wedding.
Randy, I had a quick follow up on that, Randy. Not to interrupt you, but Coach, you kind of talked about all the changes. Has the game changed at the high school level in the past 15 years or so? The arms are stronger, faster. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think the game has changed. I mean, it's there's an old quote that I always like that, as a head coach, you like to play any game in any type of environment against any type of opponent. So if you need to go to my old, West Coast, Cal State Fullerton baseball, great. If you need to go to the SEC and the Gorilla Ball in the late 90s, great, let's do that. Coaches, and you're trying to find out how the game has changed. The players are getting bigger. They're getting stronger. You just talked about Jaden Newt and Cassius Thomas, from Sierra Canyon, both were in the mid-90s. And, you look at Olu and, Rodriguez and Santos. And, I look at our staff and I feel like we've got, 6 to 8 to 9 guys that can really, either put it up there or really mix and match. And so I think there's so many games within the game that you have to be prepared as a head coach and as a player to be able to play 7 different types of games within a 7-inning game, if that makes sense. So, and I think that's, as head coaches, what we're trying to do. Or, you're just, hey, this is how we do it. This is what we do, and we're going to be really good at it. The old Harry Welch way in football. We're going to run 5 plays, and you can't stop us because we run it so well. And some teams take a look at it that way, and those teams are hard to stop because they're so good at what they do, and they minimize things where, sometimes, and I apologize for talking so much, I try to do too much at times. And that's been one of my weaknesses as a head coach, that, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to teach my guys this and they got to be prepared for that, because you always want your team to be a reflection of their head coach and make sure they're as well prepared as they possibly can, again, for any type of environment.
We've been talking a lot about pitchers and their speed in the mid-90s. But the back end of that, somebody has to catch the ball. So the catcher, and I know you were a catcher in the Mets organization, and as I was growing up, they always used to say the fastest way to the major leagues was behind the plate as a catcher. Is that still true? And when you talk to the youngsters at the high school level, and they all want to play pro baseball, do you tell them, hey, maybe you might think about becoming a catcher, because even with the tools of ignorance, that's the quickest way, the path to the major leagues?
Yeah, but I think it's the most undercoached position as well at the youth level and the high school level. I think you're starting to see more of a balance of it a little bit. But if you're a shortstop or a center field and you're a Royce Lewis type player and you can do pretty special things, I think you got a chance to skyrocket, because they're looking for those guys that can do special things. And but if you're a Joey Bart as well, or even a Kevin Parada, from Loyola, I think a couple years ago, those are the guys that really move up as well. So if you're a dude and you can be a dude and you can continue to be a dude, you're going to make the big leagues no matter what. Doesn't matter if you're an arm, second baseman, catcher, but most of that's going to come from up the middle anyways. Your catcher, your shortstop, your center fielders, and obviously your pitchers.
Tarek, a final question for the coach.
I just maybe, same thing I asked Ralph, our previous guest, just kind of maybe rattle off some names that we need to hear about your team, Coach. Who do you want to highlight? Who are some of the guys you rely on? Maybe some seniors that you're proud of this year.
Well, we're young. So, David Horn and Owen Fuller are 2 senior starters right now. And Owen had the huge hit, against Harvard Westlake, and he's kind of the guy that I look to, and as well with David. But I have to mention Andrew Lamb. And, if Trinity other coaches are listening to me, I'm going to put him up for the MVP of the league, because what he has done this year has been nothing short of phenomenal. And he's a USC commit, and he's just, trying to figure out him has been hard for other teams because he's just been so darn offensive. And we feel like we have a really strong junior class J.J. Hollis has been great on the mound. Trent Caraway and Jonathan Mendez. Lou Fujiwara. Caraway going to Oregon State. Mendez is going to UCSB. We have a Japanese kid who's from Japan who just committed to Cal Poly SLO this weekend. Brody Purcell, Ben Reimers, Brandon Chang. We just feel like our whole team of juniors that were sophomores last year on varsity that didn't play a ton, it's now their time. And I think that was a little bit of the shakeup again at the beginning of the season. But now it's their time to kind of shine and be those guys with, the sophomores that we have, Chuck Caruso and Matt Champion. And so we really feel we have a good, strong junior class. And we're going to have really 20 back next year, because we'll only lose 8 seniors. So we feel like if we can make a run at this thing this year, but we also think we're going to be pretty special next year.
Well, Coach Brett Kaye, we really appreciate you coming aboard. Say hello to Keith Wilkinson, your basketball coach for us. He's a good friend of the program and does a great job as well. And I'm sure you'll get it done. And thanks for being part of the Boris Classic and being a big host of that event. That's really nice of your school, because I know your facility is phenomenal. Thanks for all you do at the prep baseball level.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, that's head coach Brett Kaye of JSerra, his team, hosting the Boris Classic. I see that we got Ralph Grajeda on there on the other picture. So, Coach, thank you for being aboard this week. Any last thoughts about what you heard from Brett, and then we'll close the show?
No, I think it's a great tournament. He's right. It's one of the best tournaments in America, and we're excited to be a part of it. And yeah, you're looking at some of the best teams in America in that tournament next week.
All right, gentlemen, we will let you go.
The worst matchup is Yucaipa Huntington Beach in the first round. You can thank Jerry for that one. Yeah,
I saw that. That's a rough one, but hey, it's all right.
Hey, it depends on perspective, guys. It may be the worst for Ralph because Huntington Beach is so good, but from a spectator and fan perspective, it's a great matchup, and that's what the Boris Classic is all about, right?
Phenomenal matchup.
We're looking forward to this playing baseball.
You guys are funny, man.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Continued success to Yucaipa and JSerra, and the coaches Ralph Grajeda, and of course Brett Kaye. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you soon. All right, Tarek, those were 2 phenomenal guests. Great guys, great programs, and a great tournament. But I want to take us back to last week. We only have a couple minutes left, and talk about the Arcadia Invitational, the track meet, where Max Thomas, a Servite, another Trinity League guy, went off in the sprints. He won the 100, he won the 200, a dominant performance. We see so many football players in track and field win the sprints. Well, this sprinter is a soccer player and a sprinter, which I thought was in a unique combination, but a great athlete. And you were at that event.
Yeah, the Arcadia Invitational, again, like we were talking about earlier with the city section being at Dodger Stadium, it's kind of this marquee, circle it on your calendar, got to get there kind of event as a media member, and to see the highest level of the high school athletics for track and field. It is the Arcadia Invitational. I don't think there's anything better in the country. So you see some future Olympians run through there. It's happened before. It'll happen again. Some of them are jumping. Some of them are pole vaulting. Some of them are sprinting. So it's a great event. It's always fun to be at. And you just kind of never know who's going to win. I don't know if Max Thomas was really expected to win, and he did. So really, really fun to watch.
If I say Matt Mutasik, the coach at Granada Hills, we're going to have him aboard next week. Matusak, and he's done a great job bringing that Highlander program around. I know you're excited because you're good friends with him. Yeah,
Matusak's good, man. One of the, as you do this, high school sports gig, you get to know these coaches. Some of them you connect with better than others, and Matt Matusak's one of them that I really got to know well, and we've played a couple rounds of golf in the summers and stuff like that. A really, really class act guy, and arguably one of the best fields in all of the San Fernando Valley and Daily News coverage areas at Granada Hills High School, and that's because of Matt Matusak, who used to be a professional groundskeeper for the San Francisco Giants. So that guy knows how to keep a field pristine, and that's Matt Matusak from Granada Hills Charter.
That's a pearl. Had no idea he worked on the fields like that. I do know that you work on the show, and we appreciate you, Tarek. We'll bring you back again next week. You'll be on with your buddy Matt. We might have a few surprises as well. I'm going to actually go back into the studio at LA 36 We've been doing my show here remotely from my home studio. We're going back in the studio. That's a good sign with COVID coming down a little bit. We still got to be cautious, but we'll be in the studio at LA 36 next week. So for Tarek Fattal, I'm Randy Rosenbloom. Until next Thursday at 9 o'clock, we'll see you then right here on SoCal Prep Report. Good night, everybody.